something happening. This was a collaborative effort that, as I said, has been going on for more than the past year. Started under the leadership of previous Mayor Moshe, and it included resources from the Norwalk Fire Department, the Police Department, and Norwalk Public Schools. There's now a district committee that meets regularly to discuss the issues that need to, so that the dialogue can be ongoing, that we can make sure that we implement best practices, current practices, and find all the resources available to do that. Those active participants include Chief McCarthy from the Fire Department, Chief Gahowick from the Police Department, Dr. Rivera, who's sitting to my left, the Superintendent of Schools, and as well as a representative from my office, me or anybody else that can attend in my stead. In a minute, each of them are going to tell you more about what has already been accomplished, as well as the other projects that are scheduled to move forward in 2014 and beyond. First, there are several people that need to be thanked, because when you challenge people and you put them in positions, you're always looking for the best of the best to do the job, to do it well, and to make sure that we get things accomplished as intended. Those people are, one, we have Michelle DeLuca, who's here with us today, Deputy Director of Emergency Management for the Norwalk Fire Department, and actually for the entire city, who spearheaded the creation of our emergency response guide, which Chief McCarthy has a copy. Lieutenants Mark Lepore and Brian Cunningham from the City of Norwalk Police Department, who led the way with the on-site assessments conducted at each location. And I don't know if any of you really understand all that goes into an on-site assessment. It's a very comprehensive evaluation of a facility to make sure that you find the places where the facility is most vulnerable, and then you harden that target, if you will, to lessen the likelihood of an intrusion. We have Bob Kalaki, junior ROTC instructor at Brian McMahon High School, is also here, and Norwalk's 2013 Teacher of the Year, who volunteered his time to help the schools conduct safety drills, which is very important as well, because once you get a process in place, the worst thing that you can do is have the plan sit on a shelf gathering dust. You have to practice, you have to implement, because there are going to be changes in personnel over the years, and we have to make sure that it's an ongoing process, something that has to happen with great regularity. And George Giannini, Facilities Coordinator of Norwalk Public Schools, who continues to contribute his knowledge and expertise about each school to help facilitate the committee's work. So just want to ensure everybody, the staff at the Norwalk Public Schools, and more importantly, the parents and the students, that school security has been, and will always be a priority in Norwalk. We want people to feel secure that when they send their children to our schools, that they're in safe surroundings, and we're doing everything we can to protect them and to return them home to their parents at the end of the day. So having said all that, I'd like to turn the agenda over to Chief McCarthy.
Good morning. Thank you very much for coming. I'd just like to start by saying that a year ago, in January of 2013, both the Police Department, Fire Department, and Emergency Management met with the Superintendent to discuss the status of the school readiness for all types of emergencies. And it was clear that everybody at the table felt that we needed to put a very strong emphasis and attention to school safety, and from that discussion we developed a school safety and security planning team, and that group has been meeting once a month since last January, with a steering committee made up of a subgroup from the Police Department, Fire Department, Emergency Management, and the schools to address the needs of and plan for the activities of the larger group. And in a very short period of time, we have overhauled the emergency plan that deals with school emergencies, and our focus was to make schools safer every day. Our goal was not to deal with the rare but very tragic outcomes from school violence, although that was a big part of it. We wanted to make sure that our efforts made schools safer every day for every member of the school community and the visitors into the schools. From that process, as Mayor Rilling described, Michelle DeLuca helped guide the group in adopting a school emergency procedures guide, which I have a copy of. That school emergency guide now is in every occupied space in every one of the 19 schools in the city. Every teacher, every substitute teacher, and all of the staff have access to this guide that will help them respond to any type of emergency that might occur. In previous iterations of the plan, there were a dozen or 2 dozen different types of events that could occur, and it was not very user-friendly, it was not easily understood, it was not something that could be trained on, and certainly school children who need to understand the plan as well couldn't follow it. We boiled it down using a best practice from Colorado, a foundation called I Love You Guys that was started as a result of school violence in North Platte, Colorado. And we developed this guide so that in any type of emergency, the response by the staff and students really boils down to 4 separate and distinct actions. Either they lock down, if there is some violence inside the school or emergency inside the school, they would lock the school down, and teachers and students would barricade themselves in secure locations. Lock out if there is an emergency outside the school that they wanted to protect from, whether it's a rabid animal on school property or a security issue that the police department is managing. They would lock out so there would be no activity going in and out of the school building. An evacuation, if the school is unoccupiable for any reason, we would evacuate, and that plan also includes relocation to an alternate facility or shelter in place. We've seen some very rare but serious weather events and tornado warnings that have been posted in the region, and we want to make sure that school staff understand their responsibility and have the resources needed to react to those, and that would be a shelter-in-place activity. From the early development, and we're not done, we have recently added a tab that deals with medical emergencies, knowing that during any type of other emergency, like a lockdown or a lockout, it can produce stress, anxiety, or there just may be an unexpected medical emergency. We want to make sure that teachers and staff understand what their resources are. Under those unusual circumstances, how do you care for someone who is having an anxiety-produced asthma attack or a bee sting during an evacuation? And it's important to give everybody all of the resources that they have to help manage that. We are working currently on developing a reunification piece, understanding from other events around the country, and obviously very close to home in Newtown, that reunification with families that occurs after emergency is an important part of the process. And we're developing a guide for all of the staff and parents to understand how, so they will understand how we as a city will manage the reunification. And lastly, we want to make sure that we are including the guidance staff and special needs staff in this process. That is work that we're doing this winter. Before school is over for this calendar year, or this school year, we will run a tabletop exercise to make sure that we walk through the process of managing an emergency, and that we include all the players from all of the school emergency teams to participate in that. This is a living document. The reason why it's in a binder is to make sure that we have the ability to change, adapt, and add as necessary. And I do want to just lastly call attention to a resource that we have for police and fire, as well as school staff. Through the efforts of the public school system and the central office, each fire apparatus, each police car will be provided with a map that shows all of the access points into each school facility. As I said, we want to make school safer every day for everyone. and being able to respond to a medical emergency and knowing exactly where the quickest point of entry is important for those, but it's also important for the more tragic school security events that do occur, making sure that we all have quick access into a building. So I'm very pleased to be part of this project. I appreciate the attention that the superintendent has given personally to the project and the collaboration from all of the partners. And like I say, this is a project that we will continue and continue to develop and refine. It will take involvement from all of the departments and the full emergency management team, as well as the Board of Ed, to be successful. And I think that we're well on our way to that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. First of all, on behalf of the police department, I think I have to make a point of acknowledging Chief McCarthy and Michelle DeLuca, as their role in emergency management really spearheaded this thing right from the beginning. I don't think without their focus on getting this done, we'd be where we are, with this product that we have and where we're going. So I thank them for that. And I can't say enough about Dr. Rivera since he's come in. We've really made big strides in a short period of time. And it's been the partnership with police, fire, EMS, emergency management, the school system, the Board of Ed. Everyone's worked together well with the common goal of seeing we can do the best we can for the schools. From a personal standpoint, I want to thank Deputy Chief Wren, who's been our liaison on the committee, and Lieutenant Lepore and Lieutenant Cunningham, who could not be here. They're the ones that put in countless hours, besides their regular work, to do the assessments at each school, prepare a comprehensive guide on what needed to be done, both overall and then specifically for each school. I can't talk specifically about some recommendations they've made for obvious reasons, but just in general terms, they came up with some ideas on the school numbering, the doors of the buildings, so we have a common approach throughout the city. New locks being installed based on some guidance they provided. And then some just overall ideas that's not specific to any one school, but just some common things. Improving signage, screening visitors, logging schools so that trespassers are not permitted on the property. Identifying areas of refuge in the schools, a key control system. Some common things that sometimes are overlooked, but through their efforts, and they've had extensive training in it, and they continue to go through extensive training, they've been able to identify those things, so I want to thank them. It's something that, as the Chief said, it doesn't end. We're still working with some other entities to help them. Some of the private schools have asked for assistance, and we've reached out to them as well, and we'll continue to work on the committee to make sure we continue to improve and do what we can to ensure we have the safest schools possible.
Thank you. I will say, as someone new to Norwalk 6 or 7 months ago, to come here and to witness the high level of organization and attention to school safety really was reassuring. This is really perhaps the best example of teamwork that I've seen in a community, where you not only have one organization being the public school system, but working so closely with the police department, the fire department, and quite frankly, some of the people in this room who've played a key role. I want to thank them, in particular Tony Dodona, who was the interim superintendent last year as this unfolded, George Giannetti, Bob Kalaki, and Ralph Valenzizi, making sure that the other aspects of what we need to attend to are addressed. At any rate, this is really about creating a culture of safety in our schools. Years ago, you probably recall yourself, the prime attention was fire drills, and that's what was practiced in schools, and that's what we do. And today, it really is about teaching certain key life skills. We have to create a culture of safety within our schools where we're not only addressing, obviously, the need for potential fire, although there's been major improvements in our facilities, but weather conditions, hazardous conditions, as well as the potential intruder or any threat to safety that occurs. And so changing the culture, creating a culture of safety is what this is all about. And our fire chief has shared with you our safety manual that has been published and produced. and it is something that is regularly reviewed. I was out one day, made an unannounced visit to a school, and I walked in, and there they were getting ready for a lockdown. And it was amazing to just walk with the principal through that school and see all of the teachers, all the students properly in place, hiding. You didn't even know where they were. But at any rate, it was really a terrific effort to know that what we say here, what we have here, is actually being practiced out in the field. For parents, obviously, we have communications that we're sending out to parents so that they can reinforce things at home in terms of understanding what we mean and what is expected when there's a lockdown or a lockout or shelter or evacuation as a key element of the component. And lastly, we also need to remind families that they too have certain responsibilities in the event of an emergency. And, for example, we ask that parents not show up at school unless they're instructed by authorities. That could create some dilemmas. And if there's not immediate access to the facility, we ask that you not try to find ways to get around and to get access. It's all for the safety of children and as well as their own safety of the adults in and around that area. We have also stepped up communications quite a bit. We are not only going to have updated information on our website and obviously the robocall system, but we are now in the process of instituting a new text alert system. So we'll actually be able to have messages that are actually pre-recorded in some cases that can instruct and give information to parents as these processes or incidents unfold, so they are getting accurate messages that they can count on. So with an upgraded communication system, continuous training for our children, for our staff, and even more information to families, we think we're going to have we are ready and prepared for emergencies that we hope don't confront us, but if they do, we will be ready for them. And again, I can't thank enough the role of these gentlemen to my left, police chief, fire chief, and everybody else who's playing such a key role in the support of the mayor in what we're trying to do to support our children and our families in Norwalk. Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, I know with the